Hey everyone, so today I'm here to talk about how to prepare yourself for dental school in terms of your application and all the factors that go into play to make your application complete. So you have to realize that the application cycle is a long one. I mean, preparing yourself to dental school is a long process and starts whenever you think you're ready to go to dental school. So I have a couple of points. The first one is your grades. These are the numbers. So I'm going to talk about grades and your DAT score. So obviously those are two big factors that the admissions committees take into consideration when looking at your file. Now for grades, you want to make sure that your GPA is fairly high. I think the average GPA for getting into dental school is about a 3.4 or a 3.5. So anything in that range or higher obviously makes you a competitive applicant. So you want to make sure that your grades are high. And then also, while you're taking your classes, you want to make sure that you complete the prerequisites with a full course load. I'm looking to the side because I have like a paper that I'm looking at. So you want to make sure that you're completing your prerequisites with a full course load. I think admissions committees want to see that you can handle a lot of classes, like juggle your time between all classes and still do well. So just make sure that when you're taking your science classes, you're not just taking, for example, one biology class and four other non-science classes, which may be easy. You want to make sure that you're taking maybe three bio classes and two non-science classes, so that they can see. And then if you do well in them, then that shows that you can carry a rigorous load, and which is what dental school is going to be, mostly sciences. So that's for for grades and GPA. You can also be any major that you want to be. So going to dental school, there's no required major that you have to be. You can be a bio major, a chemistry major, biochem, history, English, sociology, psychology, anything you want to do, as long as you make sure you take the prerequisites. So that's the important thing. Each school has a set of prerequisites, and most of them are very similar, with one or two classes that some other schools added to their prerequisite list. So as long as you're an English major and you're able to still take the prerequisites as well as fulfill your English degree, great, because that they like to see that you're diverse as well. And yeah, so take whatever major, be whatever major you want, and yeah, just make sure that you're completing the prerequisites. So that's that. And then the next step would be your DAT. I think I'll talk about that last. Okay, so the next one would be conduct research if possible. Now, obviously, this is not a requirement, but on the application page, or when you're applying, there is a space where you can put in research that you've participated in. So this is desirable, obviously, and so just make sure that if you want to do research, you know exactly what your research is, so that when it's time to apply, you can put that in there. I think they do like to see students that do research. It's not something that they're gonna not consider you for if you don't do research, but it's getting more and more competitive out there, so you want to make sure that you have every little thing that you possibly can to make yourself strong. And then you also want to focus on your letters of recommendation. Now you want to find professors that will write you good letters of recommendations, professors that actually know you. So obviously this has to take some preparation. You can't just not ever talk to your professor and then all of a sudden it's time to apply and you want them to write a recommendation. They won't be able to write a good one for you. So at the beginning of your semester or whatever class it is you're taking, if you think that there's a professor that you like and you think that they'll be able to write a recommendation letter for you, go into office hours, build a good relationship with them, so that when it's time, they actually know you beyond the resume that you just give them. So that's also important, because it's another perspective for the admissions committees to look at, and obviously they can read through letters of recommendation where the professor doesn't really know you. It's probably like one paragraph long. You want your professor to write a recommendation letter because they know you well. So that's an important part as well. And you also want to be able to shadow a dentist. and record your hours as you shadow. So shadowing a dentist is important because the admissions committees want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, and they want to make sure that you've submerged yourself in such an environment, you know. So if you're shadowing a dentist, or volunteering at a dental office, or maybe you work at a dental office, great. Just make sure that you're actually absorbing and learning, you know, what's happening there, and as well as write your hours down, because that's something that when it comes to application time, they'll ask you how many hours did you shadow at, so, and you know, whichever dentist. And it's also good to shadow maybe 2 or more dentists. You can do maybe 2 dentists and 1 specialty. Just make sure that you're not just shadowing one. So that's a good thing. If you can shadow a specialty, that's great. So that's for shadowing dentists. And yeah, just make sure that you write down however many hours you're shadowing each dentist. Keep track of that. And then also, you know, you can write short notes of what you're seeing. So let's say if you go to the dentist and you saw wisdom tooth extraction, and that was your first time seeing it, just write down a little bit of what you saw, and next time you saw something composite or something like that, just make sure that you write down whatever you see, because it just makes your life so much easier when it's time to apply. So that's for shadowing dentists. Then you also want to make sure that you're engaging in extracurricular activities. The admissions committees want to make sure that you're well-rounded. They don't want to accept students that are just bookworms and have no social lives. So this is your opportunity to show them that you've been involved in the community, you know, whether volunteering or just being a club member. This is also your opportunity to show them that you've been in leadership positions. If you haven't had any leadership positions, that's fine, as long as you've been a club member that's active and can show that on your application. So just make sure you engage in extracurricular activities, whatever you want to do. It doesn't even have to be pre-dental or pre-medical, you know, pre-med related. It can just be anything that you like to do. So if it's a cooking club and, you know, that's what you want to do, hey, go ahead. If it's a crocheting club, just join it to, you know, to have fun and also improve on your social skills. This is the big thing for them. So yeah, so that's engage in extracurricular activities. Then the last but not least is finally apply to take the DAT. So the DAT is a major exam for being admitted into dental school. So you want to make sure that you apply to take the DAT in due time, so that when it's time for you to apply, you know, or enter the application cycle, you have either your DAT scores already ready, as in maybe you took it before the application cycle opened, or you're gonna take it soon. So for me, I didn't have my DAT score. I didn't take my DAT before the application cycle opened, but I took my DAT in mid-July, so 6 weeks after the cycle opened. Fortunately for the DAT, you get your scores immediately. I mean, right after you take the DAT, after you answer the last question and the timer runs down, you see your score. But it takes 2 weeks for them to generate your official scores and send it out to your schools. So I was still very early because I had submitted my application at the time. So once you send that in, once you take your DAT, that's great. You just also want to make sure that you take it when you're prepared and you feel like you're confident and you can take it, because I think the maximum time you can only take your DATs, I think 3 times in your lifetime, which is a little scary. So you just want to make sure that when you go in, there's no test or DAT. You're not going just to see how the DAT is, because that's what practice tests are for. So just make sure that when you go to attack the DATs, you taking it, make sure that you think that you're taking it just once, because if you have to retake it, it's not a bad thing. You just have to wait 90 days to retake it. So, you know, if you took the DAT you took the DAT in, let's say, August, and the cycle opened in June, and you wanted to retake your DAT, that would be 3 months from August for you to have to retake it. And by that time, you're cutting it a little close. I mean, by that time, schools would have already started interviewing applicants. So you want to make sure that the timing is right for everything. And then finally, after you take your DAT, or before, you just apply. So go ahead and get your, I don't remember what it's called, I think it's PIN number, ADSAS ID, that's what it is. And then go ahead and apply, fill it all out. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. You also want to remember to have a resume. So a resume, just make sure that you have a list of all the activities that you've been involved in, a little description. There is no way to like attach your resume to your application, but it just makes your life so much easier as you're filling stuff into your application, because all that's on your resume will go in. So if you've worked before, where you worked, your supervisors, if you did research, all of that should be on your resume. And so, just make sure you have your resume ready so that when it's time to apply, you will be ready for that. So if you have any questions, just make sure to comment below and I'll answer as much as I can. I tried to plan this video to be a little organized, and I don't know if I did that great of a job because there's probably something I'm missing. If you have any questions, make sure to ask. This stuff is still a little fresh in my mind because I just applied not too long ago. I mean in the summer, and it's December now, so maybe 6 months ago. But it's still very fresh in my mind, and I want to help as many people as possible. So ask your questions, and I'll be sure to answer them when I have time. All right, bye.